Anyway, 2021, Jerome Powell, who's our central bank guy, the Federal Reserve, he said, quote, CBDCs, this is not on, I love this one, not on the immediate horizon. Okay, so you're admitting that it is on the horizon. So in 2024, Lagarde, she comes out and she told the European Parliament that CBDC skepticism stemmed from conspiracy theories, saying the digital euro is not going to be Big Brother surveillance. Remember, what a central bank digital currency can do and will do, at least over in in Europe, will be that it will track everything you buy, everything you sell, everything you make. Okay, not a problem. That's fine. I don't have anything to hide, except it can be turned off. You don't own, like I can go to the bank and say, I want cash. I want my cash out. Okay. You'll be suspected of being a terrorist if you do that. What's the problem? Hey, that's freedom, baby. But you can take the cash. Okay. With a central bank digital currency, you don't own that. There's nothing to take out. They own it. The central bank and the government, they own that. So you have no place to go but through them. And if you decide, I don't really like that, they can turn your currency off. And make no mistake, that's not a tinfoil hat conspiracy. That's what's happening in China.
So, picture your life in a place where everything you do, what you buy, how you behave, is tracked. The government gives you a score, and the score is a measure of how trustworthy you are as a citizen and determines what you're allowed to do, like ever. Boarding a train, getting a mortgage, all goes back to this score. It's called social credit. It sounds like that show Black Mirror, but it's actually happening in China. So how does that change you? Does it change you? What does your life look like when your every move is watched? The system's eyes are in big data, artificial intelligence, and roughly 200 million surveillance cameras. And that's totally fine with Ouyang Haoyu. She's 21, graduated from a good school with solid grades. She's diligent. She's nice. No surprise, she's a 752. That's her rating with Sesame Credit, a private company working with the government on the algorithms for the social credit system. The scores go from 350 to 950 and are based on habits and behavior. Buy clothes or diapers, it's good. A lot of alcohol, too many video games, not so good. Haoyu's 752 puts her in model citizen range and gets her discounts and privileges, like using a shared bike without a deposit. She likes it. Her friends do too. They all have pretty high scores.
It's a mechanism like pushes you.
So what do you do if you have bad social credit? Well, for one, you talk about it on Weibo, which is like Twitter. There are forums for discredited people to vent and get advice. In Chongqing, we hooked up with Huang Huijun. He had a business until he was sued by a client, and Huang refused to pay 90 grand to settle it. So the court put him on a social credit blacklist, and things got way worse. He explains that being blacklisted means he can't buy airplane or train tickets. When he tries, a message pops up saying he's discredited. By the end of last year, blacklisted people were blocked from booking 23 million flights and 5 million high-speed train trips. And the list goes on. Being discredited makes it hard to get a job, a loan, a hotel room, or put kids in certain schools. Then there's the public shaming, photo galleries of blacklisted citizens. There's even an app that shows who around you is in debt. In China, being monitored is nothing new.
All right, Shalom. This is the brother Nahal from the GMS Orlando camp. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasha Allah, and a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word, in all truth and in sincerity. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. And it reads, "And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." All right, and I want to go into a lesson through the Spirit on the mark of the beast, all right, which is the RFID microchip inserted into the right hand or the forehead. All right. And what you saw in those video clips is the infrastructure being laid out for this plan. As a matter of fact, this is Revelation 13 and 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And this Roman system has been worshipped up until this day. All right. What we live in now is the revived Roman Empire. And there's nowhere on the planet really where the influence of Babylon the Great, which is America, is not present. All right. Some places more than others. But it's not going to stop here. You know, Esau's intention is to turn the world into a digital form of Rome, where he has full control of everyone in it through the RFID microchip. See, right now with your phone, your car, you know, Esau has ways to track you, but it's a very inefficient system in his eyes. So what he's going to do is he's going to make this mandatory. All right. This is what the Lord described as the hour of temptation. All right. This is Revelation chapter 3. All right. And verse 10. And it reads, "Because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth." All right. And what this is this the completion, the nail in the coffin of this Roman system. All right. Which is that RFID microchip. Because once that is inserted in you, there's literally nowhere you can go. All right. We just heard from the clip of Glenn Beck that those transactions, every transaction, when you go into that entire video, every transaction is tracked through those smart contracts. Not only that, but they have the ability to prevent you from buying or selling. And this is why through the Spirit, I want to show the social credit system and some of the details of how that social credit system works. Because what you see in China, all right, and, you know, when we look at the world stage as a whole, you know, most people are not privy to the fact that there is a global agenda, you know, that goes past nationalities and nations. All right. And this is why you notice that even though China and America, especially right now with the trade war and the tariffs, even though they're at conflict, when you look at what's happening in China digitally, all right, they're more advanced in the image at this point because the elites know that they can test a system like this through a dictatorship more so than a democracy. All right, let's go here. This is 2nd Esdras 15 and 46. And it reads, "And thou, Asia, that art partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person, woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. Thou hast followed her that is hated in all her works and inventions. Therefore saith Yahweh Shai, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. And the glory of thy power shall be dried up as a flower. The heat shall arise that is sent over thee." All right, because again, when you look at the society of the Moabites, all right, the Chinese, it really models the American system. It's just more advanced. And why is that? Because democracy is a very slow moving system. Every 8 years, you have 4 to 8 years, you have a new president. So another man's agenda comes into office every 4 to 8 years. Whereas in a communist system, if you want to call it that, with China, they have a dictator for life, basically. So Xi Jinping is allowed to have his vision come to fruition throughout his lifetime. And his vision is the same as the elites, to bring forth that MOTB and that infrastructure inside of that MOTB. And this is why when you look at China, they have this social credit system where they can lock you out of the ability to leave your area. You can't buy a train ticket, or you definitely can't leave the country. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's certain things you just can't buy with your social credit score. You can't get loans. All right. And this is Esau's wet dream, because through this type of system, he's able to lock people down. All right. Through this type of system, he's able to control your mentality. So even if you don't like the so-called white man, you can't speak up against him. All right. You're bound. Even if you wanted to, even if you wanted to speak out, all you got to do is cut your contract. All right. He can cut your chip where you can't move. You can't buy Uber. You know, or he could cut your car off. And this is why he wants that digital system, because he wants to have a full control over the population. All right. So nobody can speak against him. Then he doesn't have to wear this facade of being good natured and good intentioned. All right. He can just be who he always was. All right. And that's the devil that the Bible speaks of. All right. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and 13. It says, "For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mountain, the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." And this is what this system is all about. They're going to sell it to everyone else as a point of convenience. But in actuality, this is a linchpin of control. All right. This is their attempt to have control over the population, because Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, the one the world ignorantly calls God, has full control over all creation, and it's non-GMO. The Lord didn't have to use technology as a vehicle. All right. And what Esau's doing on the left hand side is attempting to be like God. All right. And this is why the scriptures talk about that son of perdition being declared. That had to happen. All right. This is 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. All right. For those who don't know, Esau Edom, all right, is the modern day, as they term themselves, white man. Now, not to be mistaken, you have some of our people who are Israelites that look like the so-called white man, because it's not a skin color thing. But as a nation of people, as a whole, the so-called white man as a nation of people is the biblical nation of Edom. All right. Now, again, for those who are new, that isn't, skin color is an indicator. It's not always a guarantee. But we know the elites of this society are Edomites. We know the elites of this society are Edomites. All right. Real quick. This is Job 9 and 24. And it reads, "The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" All right. And the so-called white man's track record speaks for itself. All right. But the Bible spoke of it before it actually played out. All right. This is Malachi 1 and 4. "Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. And they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever." All right. When you go into that word for border, it's a territory or region. All right. And everywhere the so-called white man goes, all right, wickedness follows. All right. Now, the deadly wound on the beast was healed. All right. Now, let's go here. Let's go back to Revelation 13. And I'm going to jump down to verse 12. All right. And it reads, "And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." And what was that? The Roman Empire. This is why today, even in modern society, there's an obsession with the Roman Empire. Why? Because this is the revived Roman Empire. That deadly wound was healed. All right. And when you deal with the Renaissance period, all right, from then till now, you've seen the evolution, if you will, of the Roman Empire, the revived Roman Empire. And now that final step is to turn this into a digital Rome where they have full control over the masses and they don't have to pretend to care about your opinion. All right, because the democratic system was used to make people believe they had a say so, because that would keep the masses at bay. It felt like they were a part of their country's choices. But in actuality, they aren't. This is Revelation 13:11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And this goes into the two-party system. But even no matter which party's in office, the same agenda is being pushed forward, because ultimately the end goal is to have full control over the people through that mark of the beast. All right, through that RFID microchip. Through that, they will have complete control. All right, they can track you. And you combine that with AI, it's automated oppression. So now you don't have a face to put on your oppression. You know, Esau's a cunning hunter in that fashion. And they've spent generations getting to this point, but they are going to fail. All right. And it's going to be by the hands of the Heavenly Father. All right. This is Job chapter 20 and 22. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And that wicked goes into laborers. All right. As a matter of fact, let's do this. Let's go here to Job 20. And we're going to go back to verse 22. And we're going to get that word for wicked. All right. It's amal. All right. And it says laborer, sufferer, wretched one. All right. So every hand of the wicked is going to be upon him. And that goes into, when you look at it, sedition is going to play out as well. And that's going to be so-called white on white violence. All right. These Edomites in America who are used to a certain level of privilege and liberty, when the hammer starts to come down, they're going to resist violently. All right. According to prophecy. All right. So let's continue. Verse 23 says, when he is about to fill his belly, Yahweh Shai shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. All right. So he's going to get close. All right. But the Lord's going to cut him down. And this is why we know who the son of perdition is. All right. We were taught to look for one man, but in actuality, this is concerning a nation of people. It's not concerning one man. All right. And I'll get this precept as well. Let's go here and 2 Thessalonians first. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Remember ye not that, when I was yet with you, I told you these things. All right. And now he's being declared. And this is the beauty of prophecy and the Lord raising up the prophets, because Scott Ritter, Redacted, Glenn Beck, they can tell you certain things about the elites. And I'll put quotations around that. But it's only when you come to the prophets that you understand, beginning with our apostles, how this relates to the will of the Heavenly Father biblically. And we know biblically these the elites are Edomites. And they're not going to be judged alone. The so-called white man as a nation of people, they're going to go into captivity. All right. But the son of perdition is being declared. All right. And this is why Esau is going to come down with great wrath, because, again, this shows who he is biblically, beginning with our apostles and elders. The scriptures point out who the so-called white man is biblically. It gets straight to the chase, removing the covering cast. When you watch people like Glenn Beck and you have no foundation, all right, you're just watching. It's like watching a Netflix series. You don't know where it's headed. But the Lord has given us the understanding of where things are headed according to prophecy. And we know 2 Ezra 6 and 9, it reads, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Because the world, according to prophecy, Yahweh Shai, whom they ignorantly call Jesus, is going to come back to a world ruled by Edom. All right. Matter of fact, let's get this. It's Isaiah 63:1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And this is a future prophecy, that the second coming of the one they ignorantly call Jesus, he would enter the world, a world ruled by Edom. So knowing who Edom is, according to prophecy, is extremely important. And we know that Edom is also synonymous with having a God complex. This is why when you go to 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, what was Paul saying? Because Paul had to talk in code. When you look at, what most scholars believe the disciples who became the apostles, what most of them were put to death for, many scholars believe it was for sedition. Because Rome was very, very strict concerning sedition. All right, anything that jeopardized the rulership or authority of Rome. So Paul had to speak with a certain level of code, if you will. All right, that's why he said this. All right, 2 Thessalonians 2:7. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And Paul knew, because again, Paul was taught by Yahweh Shai personally, so he understood prophecy. Now we're living it. We're living through these prophecies. And you can see the world entering into the hour of temptation. Esau's making it seem light and fun and progressive, but in actuality, this is the last straw that he needs to complete this digital Roman system. And then he can truly sit as God on earth, all right, through that digital form, through that digital vehicle. All right, so Lord willing, this was edifying. I just wanted to go into that through the spirit. I caught these clips earlier today. Lord willing, this was edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yashar Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Wakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who are believing this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.